Hi, I'm Shelley Wood. You might know me from shelleywood.com. This is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little baby doll style pajama top, which will fit 11.5-inch fashion dolls like Barbie, Mattel's Made to Move Barbie, Live Dolls, and others. But before we begin, please go to shelleywood.com to download the free printable sewing pattern you see here. Use this pattern to guide you as you cut out the fabric and measure your bias tape, your ribbon, any embellishments you want. Create a double fold hem on 3 sides of the fabric swatch by folding the fabric once and then again. You could use a whip stitch to hem it. As long as you're hemming along these 3 folded edges, you could use a sewing machine like you see me doing here. On the other side of the fabric swatch, the side that is the right side, you're going to attach rickrack or other embellishments. You could put a ribbon, but rickrack looks very nice. There's the wrong side. Now, along the edge that's raw, you're going to gather the fabric. Do not tie a knot in your gathers just yet, but set this fabric aside for just a moment. And we're going to work with the bias tape now. For this project we're using, it's actually a little less than 1-inch double fold bias tape, and before you go any further you need to try it on your doll to make sure that the bias tape wraps all the way around her bust with a little bit of overlap for your closure, like maybe a centimeter or so. Slide that fabric swatch in between the bias tape right where the gathered edge is. And notice here where I fold the sides, that's very important. Do that on both sides. Now's the time to tie off your gathers. Fold that side again, pin it, and then use the pins to hold the bias tape in place as you go around and hem those edges and the base of the bias tape. I used a whip stitch here. If you need help with a whip stitch, I have a tutorial for that. Put the garment on the doll inside out and attach the straps with just straight pins like you see here. Now you're ready to sew the ribbon onto the bias tape. I like to do these tiny stitches by hand. It really looks nice and holds together very sturdily. This is a good time to attach a ribbon or button to the front of the bias tape like you see in this image if you want to. Now you will also want to attach Velcro or sew some snaps to form a closure at the back of the pajama. Here are all the steps again in a time-lapse video. You can see I'm doing a double fold hem with a whip stitch on 3 of the 4 sides of the swatch of fabric. Next, I begin to gather the raw edge of the fabric. I measure the doll's bust for the bias tape. I slide the fabric's gathered edge in between the 2 sides of fabric of the bias tape. I seal the edges of the bias tape and I whip stitch along the edge of the bias tape, attaching the swatch of fabric to the bias tape with a whip stitch. I seal the other side of the bias tape. Here I'm putting the garment on the doll inside out to try to adjust those straps so they'll fit her correctly, and then I begin to stitch the straps onto the bias tape with a little whip stitch. I fold the whole garment in half to see where the middle is before I begin there it is, before I begin to attach the button. And I also try it on the doll to make sure that the button is going to be right in the center. And that's how you make a little baby doll style pajama for a Barbie sized doll. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos and free patterns, please take a moment to go tell your friends about my website, where you can find free patterns for doll clothes like this little polka dot dress.